Hello and welcome to our Rituals of Returning Herbal Ally video for November. This month we are honoring Inanna, and the word or theme of the month for 30 Days of Goddess is Descend. So I'm going to go ahead and start with our Herbal Ally cards. We actually have two this month, and I'm going to start with those. This year I've been working with the Herbcrafter's Tarot by Leticia, Guthrie, and Joanna, Powell, Colbert. And next year I'm going to be using this deck again, but also back to the Illustrated Herbiary by Maya Toll. So anyway, just a preview of what next year will hold. But anyway, from the Herbcrafter's Tarot, we received the 8 of Fire, which is ginger. And if I recall correctly, we actually had ginger earlier this year when in the summer when the goddess of the month was Tanit. And I thought that was an interesting little connection because both goddesses are queens of heaven and earth, or mothers of the earth and sky. So they're associated with the land and sky, the queen of heaven and earth. And so how interesting that they both got this fiery ginger as the herbal ally to go with them. So we're going to explore ginger first with a little assist from, so the first card I actually drew. So these I just draw. It would be easier sometimes if I drew them strategically, and planned out which one they are, which ones to use. But it's really important to me that I draw these cards intuitively, and they're based on the feeling and the message from the goddess and the word and the theme, and that we make those connections on an intuitive basis instead of a strategic basis. And so the first card I actually drew, though, was the Wheel of Fortune, which is the kitchen garden. And that doesn't actually tie in as easily to an herbal ally, so I picked the second card, which is ginger. But I went ahead and left the Wheel of Fortune in there, the kitchen garden, because I feel like when a card emerges, when a card pops out like that, it is of value to us. And so I do think this is a kind of a nice circular universality, kind of a conclusion type of card as we come to the end of this Wheel of the Year together. And so I feel like it is a nice round restorative summation of kind of having walked through this wheel of goddess magic, this wheel of the goddess year together. So that's why I left that card in here. But first we're going to go ahead and go back to ginger and see what it has to teach us this month. So ginger's message is to adapt swiftly to unexpected changes. It also reminds you that you can handle the heat and to act quickly when the inspiration strikes. So I find this very interesting because I know in this time of descent, this time of renewal, this time of deepening down into the cave of winter, listening to the crone of winter, there's also this opportunity to be alert for inspiration. And I have found in my own life, one of our mottos for Bridget's Grove has been to follow the inspiration. And I really do find that acting quickly when the inspiration strikes is really important, because otherwise, and I say that to my husband sometimes, otherwise I have to scrape my brain back up and try to re-tap into the inspiration, which sometimes isn't there anymore. And so if at all possible, act quickly when the inspiration strikes. So an affirmation for this month might be, I act quickly when inspiration strikes, or just I follow the inspiration, or I listen to inspiration. Another affirmation could be, I can handle the heat. I adapt to change. And so she points out in the book, inspiration comes from all directions. Can you handle so many things at once? Like the busy stove in the kitchen, here in the image, like the busy stove in the kitchen, everything begs for your attention. So another affirmation I would add is, I reclaim my attention. Change is happening quickly. Swift action is needed, or you may become overwhelmed. Ginger warms the body and fires up energy. When creative possibilities spin all about you, fast, focused movement is key. This is not the time to pause and consider, but instead to respond. So I do, as I said, find that very interesting for this time of year, which I've spoken a lot about, how there's a balancing the twin poles of the downward descent, the inner reflection, and the call of inspiration, the visioning for the new year, the call towards connection and celebration, and this call to inspiration. So Anyway, ginger's a spicy medicine, but you can handle the heat. So some practice ideas include using ginger in cooking or ginger as a tea. And another idea is to make a ginger elixir and then take it to keep the flames of inspiration burning. And then another possible idea is to speed up a desired outcome by crafting a magic ginger honey pot. Another idea is to use ginger as a simmer pot. So actually when you do the ritual for this month, you may then wish to have your simmer pot going with ginger in it to activate your intention, your desired outcome, and to kind of help yourself steep in that inspiration, give life to that inspiration, give life to that vision and that new dream. So that is a possibility as well. I didn't really offer any questions to consider other than can you handle so much things at once. So another question to consider might be, what changes are you sensing? What changes are simmering for you? What creative possibilities are spinning around you? And how are you following the inspiration? So we're going to go ahead and move to see what this Wheel of Fortune or the kitchen garden has to share with us today as well. Hopefully, maybe it's a little more peaceful and gentle than our fiery ginger experience here. And we'll see what this card has to offer. This is the first time that we've received the Wheel of Fortune in these Rituals of Returning video. So here's a perfect message here. Put your faith in the turning of the wheel. Stay centered in the midst of change and find the medicine unique to every season. So some affirmations might be, I put my faith in the turning of the wheel. I stay centered in the midst of change. I find the medicine unique to every season. And so in this wheel, and this would be really fun, and that's one of the things I always joke about, kind of, that someday when I'm older, which I'm getting older every day, but someday when I'm older, I'm going to have an herb spiral, I'm going to have an herb garden. But the idea here is that they've actually planted a garden in the shape of the Wheel of the Year, and then a plant in the center for every piece. Every holiday on the Wheel of the Year is there as a remedy for that corresponding season. So this card really did want to be here for this month, for November, because it really is a nice summation or an invitation to consider the lessons over the whole Wheel of the Year and to explore the messages, the seasonal messages, the cycles of change, the experiences from the whole Wheel of the Year. So here they have bay planted for Yule, parsley for Candlemas or Imbolc, violet for Ostara, chives for Beltane, lemon verbena for summer solstice, basil for Lammas, sage for autumn equinox, and onion for Hallows or Samhain. And at the center of the garden, there is the compass rose. So the promise of the garden is change. So this one's really connecting to our themes we draw this year to an end, is that there really is change on the horizon, change beckoning to you, change longing to be heard. Events may unfold that redirect your path. Some things may feel beyond your control. Find the larger pattern in the chaos. So an affirmation might be, I find the larger pattern in the chaos. The holy days mark revolving cycles of nature. They may bring disruption, but they're always reliably in forward motion. When your soul compass spins, find stillness in experiences that easily allow you to be yourself. Trust life to come into being as the plants always do. There is transformation in each turn of the wheel, and what emerges from this development will point you in the right direction. And so, some practice ideas or ritual ideas to go with this. Celebrate the holy days by creating a living altar. Add nature elements as each season unfolds. When you need to stay grounded, hold a small round stone in the palm of your hand and breathe. And another idea, to build a reliable seasonal apothecary and start with learning the herbs in the kitchen garden. This year, when we were in April, when we were working with Aramid, we each chose an herbal ally and then decided to work with that. And so 3 of the 4 herbal allies that we chose planted grew. And so I have my little apothecary kitchen garden from ironically, the one that I chose is the one that didn't grow, but the three that my friends chose did grow. So I have that little garden outside, and it just makes me smile to have my little kitchen garden of seeds that were planted in ritual and in communion with these herbal allies that we chose together. Okay, so changing topics now and moving on to our goddess of the month, Inanna. And this card, and Inanna has a special place in my heart. I have my book, The Great Between, which is a devotional journey with Inanna. Inanna has been part of my life since about 2007 or 2008, and when I first heard her story, I tell about that in the book. But anyway, this Inanna card is from The Goddess Oracle by Amy Sophia Marashensky, so we're going to explore that. And so the message that she has to share here about Inanna is about embracing the shadow. And as we know, Inanna descends into the underworld and meets her sister down there, Ereshkigal, who's the goddess of the underworld. And so this is about descending into the inner realms, descending into the depths, descending into shadow. So here's a little poem about Inanna. I went there of my own free will. I went there in my finest gown with my rarest jewels and my queen of heaven crown. In the underworld, at each of the 7 gates, I was stripped 7 times of all that I thought I was, till I stood bare in who I really am. Then I saw her. She was huge and dark and smelly and hairy, with a lion's head and lion's claws, devouring everything before her. Ereshkigal, my sister. She was all that I am not, all that I have hidden, all that I have buried. She is what I have denied. Ereshkigal, my sister. Ereshkigal, my shadow. Ereshkigal, myself. So, something to consider might be, what are you laying aside? What are you being stripped of? And then an affirmation could be, I stand bare in who I really am. I stand bare in who I really am. So what do you need to look at maybe that's waiting in shadow? And one of the things I write about in The Great Between is like, what wisdom does Ereshkigal hold down there? The one who's already down there in the dark holding answers. The one who's already down there in the dark holding answers. So what have you hidden? What have you buried? What have you denied? What do you need to meet in the dark? So the meaning, according to Amy, is that Inanna is here to tell us that a journey to the underworld is a way to wholeness. A journey to the underworld is a way to wholeness. So an affirmation might be, I journey into wholeness. I journey into wholeness. It is time to dance with your shadow, reclaim what you've denied. Another affirmation could be, I dance with my shadow. I reclaim what I've denied. Embrace your own dark sister or dark self. You need all of those aspects of yourself that your parents, teachers, caregivers, and society have deemed unacceptable in order to achieve wholeness in your life. Whether it be your talent, your beauty, your inner vampire, your anger, your madness, you are required to surrender to the journey. And that's another affirmation. I surrender to the journey and embrace your dark side. If you are already in the underworld, the appearance of Inanna may signal it is a time for your return. Journeys to the underworld to embrace your dark side are a law into themselves. They take as much time as they need to take. An affirmation might be, I take as much time as I need to take. You can't just fit them into your schedule. When it is time for you to journey, I journey into the depths. I'm on the affirmation train today. I journey into the depths. Did I already say that one? Maybe I did. When it is time for you to journey, you will and will not be done until you return. Take comfort in the fact that all journeys to the underworld do end, and you will indeed return, much different than who you thought you were when you went. So lots of things to consider here. Another question, and a question for this month is, in general, is, how am I journeying? Where am I journeying? How am I descending? How am I rising? So much to explore with these cards and this theme and this goddess, who is just really a powerful goddess, while also considering her sister, Ereshkigal, and all of her powers. I spoke at the GGG festival 2 years ago when Ereshkigal was the goddess we honored, and the theme then was about honoring healthy boundaries. And it really helped me look at Ereshkigal as a goddess in her own right and with messages of her own to share, and that she's not necessarily the bad guy in the story, even though that's kind of how it's framed. We're used to looking at things as, here goes heroic Inanna, the queen of heaven and earth, descending into the underworld, where the bad guy is down there, kind of. And really, she's her own wise sister down there in the depths, and she knows things, perhaps about where others fear to tread, So we're going to move on over to our own Story Goddess Oracle card today with Inanna. And this card is one of the bonuses, or one of the things that people in the Goddess Magic community on Patreon get. And so that card is available as a ritual packet for those members of our Goddess Magic Mystery School over there. So descend, as I said, I descend into my own depths. And then an affirmation here too, I deepen into trust. And I have my little Inanna card that was a bonus, again, a magic mail bonus for the Goddess Magic community. Can't put that away right now. And so there's a little message in there as well. May I drop down into the center and feel. May I ground myself and know. May I deepen and discover. May I extend my hands and allow the living magic of this world to refuel, renew, strengthen, and stabilize me. And then closing with Inanna's own poem. Inanna is one of our very first story goddesses that we ever had in the shop. She was one of our very first creations because she is a goddess that has had such a powerful role in my life for so many years. Listen, I tell of descent into dark places. I speak of suffering and the return. On my sacred path, I become clothed with courage and cloaked in triumph. The seat of wounding transformed into my most powerful medicine. So thank you so much for being here. May you continue to consider the impact of the cycles and seasons of change and the wheel of the year in your life. May you follow the inspiration and be warmed by the fire. May you have the courage to descend into the depths, and may you allow the living magic of this world to renew, strengthen, and stabilize you. Thank you so much for being here. Keep living your magic, everybody. Bye-bye.